Good morning. Before we begin today's meeting, I'd like to invite everyone who would like to join us to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could we start with roll call, please?
Yes. Regent Lacey? Regent Calamari?
Present.
Regent Wilkins?
Here.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites? Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
A quorum's present.
Thank you. In your materials, you have copies of the minutes from the board meeting from April 11th, 2025. I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Is there a second? Any additions or corrections? Roll call, please.
Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Lacey?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Motion passes.
Thank you. In compliance with the Open Meetings Act, the board has posted a copy of the act at the entrance of this room. So at this time, I would like to introduce the student regents and, excuse me.
Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
Thank you. Introduce the new student regents and faculty senate representative. Sam Schroeder joins us from the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Sam is from Seward, Nebraska, and is entering his senior year studying political science, public law, global peace, and security. He is a Kearney Law Opportunity Scholar with goals to attend the Nebraska Law School and eventually returning to rural Nebraska as a trained attorney. He is currently serving in his second term as student regent on the UN Board of Regents, a rare accomplishment among student regents. Sam has been involved in the honors program, St. Teresa's of Calcutta Newman Center, undergraduate research fellowship, Order of Omega Greek Honor Society, Pre-Law Society, and the NU Student Alliance. He has served in the student government since as he was a freshman, as also was president of Phi Kappa Alpha fraternity. Welcome, Sam. Libby Wilkins joins from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. Libby is a rising senior agricultural leadership major with the College of Agricultural Science and Natural Resources, and is originally from Ainsworth, Nebraska. She has held leadership positions in her college career, serving as a state FFA officer, personnel chair in a sorority Chi Omega, as a board member of the Catholic Newman Center, and as a mentor for high school sophomores in NHRI Leadership Mentoring. Welcome, Libby. Brock Calamari joins us from the University of Nebraska Medical Center. Brock is a rising fourth-year medical student, originally from Barrington, Illinois. He attended UNL, where he studied forensic biology. In his last 3 years at college as a medical senator, Brock has been active in writing resolutions on state legislation, renewing election rules, and volunteering at the Senate events. He plans to continue to work by previous senators to amplify the voices of students on campus and at the state level. Many challenges face students, UNMC, and the wider healthcare field from all levels of government. As the future of Nebraska healthcare system, Brock believes students are in a unique position to speak on these issues and chart a better path forward. Welcome, Brock. Drew Lacey joins us from the University of Nebraska of Omaha. Drew grew up in Bridgeport, Nebraska, and graduated from Bridgeport High School in 2023. He is currently pursuing a degree in business administration with concentrations in management and leadership, as well as supply chain and logistics. Upon graduation, Drew plans to attend graduate school at University of Nebraska Omaha to earn his master's degree in hospital administration or business administration. Drew is driven by a vision of transform workplaces into inclusive environments and embrace individuals from all walks of life. Drew is profoundly honored to hold the position of student body president and student regent. He feels this incredible opportunity to allow him to advocate for student needs and cultivate collaboration. Most importantly, he is ready to unify UNO. Welcome, Drew. A very warm welcome to our student regents. The voice and presence of the student regents on this board is invaluable. We're so very glad to have them here. President Gold, as I look across the room, I see many new faces sitting at our Faculty Senate President's table. Would you be so kind to introduce them, please?
Well, thank you, Regent Kinney. It is a privilege and an honor to introduce the distinguished faculty who are assuming important leadership roles at our university as our new Faculty Senate presidents. Dr. John Bauer is a professor in the geography program at UNK. He holds a Bachelor's of Science in Cartographic Science from Missouri State University and a doctoral degree in geography from the University of Kansas. John is trained as both a human geographer and a cartographer, and his research and teaching interests are found in topics in these two areas where they intersect. His publications include the geography of religion in the United States, the history of cartography, and a historical geography of travel and tourism in Nebraska. John regularly teaches courses in global geography, human geography of North America, cartography and map use, and satellite remote sensing. John was raised in a small town west of Chicago, Illinois, suburbs, and moved to Kearney in 2006, where he lives with his wife, Ann, his 3 teenage children. I do understand where insanity comes from, having raised a few of my own. Their oldest, Nathan, will be attending UNL in the fall. As an avid traveler and lover of local history and places, John is proud to have visited all 93 of Nebraska's counties and 45 of the U.S. states. Unfortunately, as I understand, John is unable to join us today due to a family commitment. I do get that, and attending in his place is the Faculty Senate President-elect, David Arredondo. And congratulations to John. And David, thank you for joining us today in his place. Let's welcome John. Next would be John Schrader, who is an associate professor in the College of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Nebraska Lincoln campus. John is an associate professor of broadcasting and sports media and communication and the coordinator of the sports media and communications program. He earned his bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism from the University of Nebraska Lincoln and a master's degree with honors in mass communications from San Jose State University. He joined UNL in 2017 after 6 years at Long Beach State. John teaches sports broadcasting, sports media courses, including writing and reporting, and courses in the Honors College on issues and ethics in sport and race and gender and identity in sport, and regularly teaches UNL students in Spain in a class titled Global Sports, Media, and Entertainment. He spent 6 years teaching sports and journalism at Long Beach State, and before that, he was a radio and TV sports broadcaster for more than 30 years in San Francisco. John earned an Emmy Award for his work on a San Jose Sharks Stanley Cup playoff broadcast and was awarded Sportscaster of the Year by the Associated Press. His work has been featured on NPR stations, KCRW in the Los Angeles area, and, of course, Nebraska Public Media. Welcome, John, and thanks for being here. Dr. Jordan Warcall is an emergency medicine physician, educator, and health policy specialist at UNMC. While in medical school at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, Dr. Walkall took an interest in physician advocacy and later was awarded the Resident Advocate of the Year Award by the Nebraska Medical Association. She completed a master's in public health with a concentration in health policy at George Washington University, and also worked in the office of United States Senator Orrin Hatch, a prolific healthcare policymaker throughout his more than 4 decades in the United States Senate. She is currently an assistant professor in the Department of Emergency Medicine at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, where she is the course director for the Health System Science curriculum. She also serves as the chair of the Nebraska Medical Association's Political Action Committee and sits on the board of directors of the Nebraska Medical Association. She was recognized as the Nebraska Young Physician of the Year by the Medical Association in 2019. She is also involved, and I would say heavily involved, in the American Medical Association, where she serves as a delegate, which is an extremely high honor, representing the Nebraska Medical Association, serves as, I guess it's now the immediate past chair, immediate past chair of the Young Physicians section, and founded within the AMA the Rural Health Caucus. She also is involved in the American College of Emergency Physicians. Her policy interests include rural medical care, drug policy, policy on education, and so many others. Beyond her work, Dr. Walkall loves trying new restaurants, especially when traveling, and spending time with her family. Welcome, Jordan. It's great to have you with us. And finally, returning is Dr. Patty Bick. Dr. Bick is an associate professor of finance, banking, and real estate. And starting in this coming August, I understand, she'll become the department chair for finance, banking, and real estate at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Dr. Bick received her doctoral degree in finance from Penn State and was a faculty member at Tulsa for 8 years before coming to UNO. Her areas of research include executive compensation, mergers, and acquisitions. She currently teaches the undergraduate capstone course for the business and finance concentration, as well as financial management for the master's, the MBA students. Patty is currently entering her second term as Faculty Senate President. And Patty, welcome back. It's great to have you with us. On behalf of the board and the senior administration of the university, we extend a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm not sure if most people realize that serving as Faculty Senate presidents is something that takes you to the very top of your day jobs, and how much time and effort is involved in representing the all-important voice of the faculty. We truly appreciate your work, we appreciate your partnership, and look forward to working closely in this year ahead as we move our university forward. Back to you, Regent Kinney. Thank you.
Thank you, President Gold. We'll now move on to kudos. At each Board of Regents meeting, we also take time to recognize those persons who, all too often, don't receive the recognition they deserve. The Board of Regents believes that it's vitally important that we acknowledge your commitment, as well as your contributions to the university. To have been nominated by either a supervisor or fellow worker in honor of itself. As kudos recipients are announced, please come to the podium and join the Regent making the presentation. Following each presentation, we'll take a picture that will appear on our website. The President, the Chancellor, and the recipient's family and supporters will be in that photo. The first kudos recipient is Meredith DeHaven, is from the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and the award will be presented by Regent Schroeder.
On behalf of the Board of Regents, I am honored to present a Kudos Award to Meredith DeHaven, Employment Specialist in Human Resources at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Since September 2014, Meredith has been a valued member of the Human Resources team, committed to recruiting top talent for all areas of UNK. She has kept pace with the evolving employment landscape It is her mission to advertise positions in high visibility outlets, remaining mindful of cost effectiveness. She excels in her role as the sole employee managing recruitment and hiring while taking on additional responsibilities following staff considerations. Now, she oversees the workers' compensation and POET testing. 2024, the old recruiting system was set to sunset, and the launch of the Success Factors was scheduled for June 2025. Meredith led the implementation for the campus and was selected to serve as a co-system administrator, acknowledging her vast project expertise and leadership. Integration was no small feat. Over 11 months, Meredith dedicated hundreds of hours to meetings, participated in system design, facilitated town hall sessions, and led user acceptance testing. With the addition of onboard and performance goals modules, she trained all end users in knowledge transfer, developed comprehensive training materials, and coordinated implementation, all while managing her regular duties. Meredith's commitment often extends to nights and weekends, ensuring continuity and progress. She steps in to assist with any task to encourage HR team members. Every challenge is met with determination and grace. Her commitment to UNK, her passion for learning, and dedication to excellence impress her colleagues across campus. She embodies the spirit of teamwork, leadership, and service, and we are proud to call her a Loper. Join us in thanking Meredith DeKay, and with her are her husband Troy DeHaven, their son Ethan DeHaven, and her supervisor, Director of Human Resources Scott Benson.
Congratulations, Meredith. Regent Wilkins will present the Kudos Award to Sue Ellen Pigg from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln.
The Board of Regents is pleased to present a Kudos Award to Sue Ellen Pegg, Recruitment Coordinator for the College of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources, or CASNR. Sue Ellen demonstrates unwavering dedication to her work, extraordinary service to our students, and invaluable contributions to our campus community, making her an exemplary candidate for this award. As the recruitment coordinator for CASNR, she's responsible for a wide range of tasks that require a high degree of expertise, coordination, and initiative. Her work is defined by her commitment to the success of her team. She leads by example, actively cultivating a culture of collaboration and mutual support, and consistently encourages staff morale. This team-focused mindset allows her to consistently inspire and motivate her colleagues, contributing to an environment that enhances recruitment efforts across the college. Claire Hornung, CASNR recruitment specialist, notes, Sue Ellen is great at making connections between departments and taking advantage of everyone's strengths to ensure team success. Her positivity rubs off on all. Sue Ellen embodies the values this honor represents. Using sound judgment, strategic vision, and a desire for excellence, teamwork flourishes. Her efforts have a profound impact on our students, our colleagues, and our community. She's a key figure in the continued success and growth of our recruitment initiatives. She's also why I chose CASNR and UNL. Joining us in thanking Sue Ellen Pegg for her service to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln are Sue Ellen's spouse, Mark Pegg, Supervisor, Interim Harlan Vice Chancellor for the Institute of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Tiffany Hangmoss, Strategic Initiatives and Alumni Engagement Coordinator, Meg Kester, Extension Specialist, Kimberly Stanke, and Ashley Tengel.
Congratulations, Sue Ellen. Regent Calamari will present the Kudos Award to Paula Colas from the University of Nebraska Medical Center.
On behalf of the Board of Regents, I am pleased to present a Kudos Award to Paula Colas, Director of Financial Aid at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. Paula has helped students navigate paying for their education and managing their debt load, a difficult job, after graduation for the past 40 years. First, as a part of the work-study program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and later as part of financial aid teams at the University of Nebraska at Omaha and Creighton University. In November of 2020, she joined the Financial Aid Office in UNMC's Division of Student Success. Paula's work ethic and commitment to students and UNMC is unparalleled, said one nominator. She is a steady force of calm in the midst of chaos, and her staff, colleagues, and students know that they can depend on her to deliver. Colleagues applaud Paula's knowledge, expertise, and flexibility in working through the changing financial aid landscape. Despite an incredibly challenging rollout of the simplified FAFSA, she kept students and colleagues informed about what to expect. And she is a selfless collaborator, always carrying more than her fair share of the weight when partnering with others. Today, Paula is joined by her spouse, Glenn Colas, her son, Connor Colas, Phil Covington, the Supervisor and Vice Chancellor of Student Success, and Jane Meza, the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs. Join me in thanking Paula for her commitment to helping UNMC graduates and student health professionals navigate the world of financial aid and fulfill their career goals.
Congratulations, Paula. Regent Lacey will present the Kudos Award to Abby Hendricks from the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
The Board of Regents is pleased to present a Kudos Award to Abby Hendricks, Director of Events at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Madison Kim, Events Planner in UNO's Office of Strategic Marketing and Communications, says that Abby exemplifies excellence by transforming ideas into unforgettable experiences. Through collaboration with a variety of campus partners, she not only brings their event concepts to life, but consistently exceeds expectations, creating impactful and memorable moments that elevate the success of everyone involved. Abby actively contributes to the success of both campus events and Omaha athletics through her dynamic collaboration. Kim says that while she balances her day-to-day responsibilities with the additional demands of athletic events, she exemplifies dedication and teamwork, strengthening connections across the university community. As a proud UNO alum, Abby embodies the Maverick spirit. Kim says she carries that Maverick strength, resilience, and independent thinking into her daily work. When faced with challenges during events, she channels her creativity and determination to adapt and ensure each event reflects the vision and needs of her clients, showcasing the true essence of what it means to be a Maverick. With Abby today are her husband, Greg Grady Henricks, and her parents Ken and Deb Young, and her in-laws Todd and Wendy Henricks. Please join me in thanking Abby for her dedication to the University of Nebraska at Omaha.
Congratulations, Abby. While our kudos guests are welcome to stay for the balance of the meeting, we understand that they may have other plans for the day. If that's the case, we'll take a moment and allow you and your families to exit the meeting.
You don't have to run for the door. 4 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, it's number 3.
Each year, the University of Nebraska recognizes the best and the brightest amongst our students in different ways. One such way is via the Regents Scholars. Regent Schaefer would like at this time to read a resolution that expresses our continued support for this particular scholarship. Regent.
Whereas the University of Nebraska Board of Regents focuses on celebrating and rewarding the highest achievers among Nebraska residents, pursuing an undergraduate degree at the University of Nebraska by offering the Regents scholarships. Whereas it is important that the standards for these awards remain consistent across the University of Nebraska system, that they are publicized in a consistent manner for potential recipients and their parents, and are adhered to in a consistent manner each year when determining who is to receive the award. And whereas the Board of Regents has determined that to remain consistent and to continue to recognize the distinct nature of the high academic achievements required to receive this award, this board will hereafter require a minimum threshold using a standardized test score that will be necessary for applicants to be eligible for the award. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Regents of the University of Nebraska commits to establishing and hereafter adhering to a clearly established system-wide standard of achievement for eligibility for all Regents scholars on all campuses for applicants enrolling for the 2026-2027 academic year and thereafter.
If there is no objection, I suggest the resolution be adopted by acclamation. Are there any comments?
I'll just say I think it's great that we're holding ourselves to a higher standard, but this is something that's going to have to be met by our chancellors with great vigilance. That increasing a threshold leaves the opportunity for people to fall between the cracks who weren't getting a scholarship in the first place. And I think that we just need to be very vigilant in the future, making sure that we can recruit all potential students.
I might just briefly add that in the interim, all students that have been awarded a Regents scholarship heretofore will be eligible and maintain that consistent with the current academic standards for maintaining their Regents scholarship. So this really will only apply to students enrolled in the academic year mentioned and thereafter.
Anyone else? Hearing no objections, it is so adopted. Thank you. Are there any hearings? So at this time, I'll turn it over to President Gold to make a few remarks. President Gold?
Well, thank you, Regent Kinney, and to all of the Regents, colleagues, and members of the university community. It is always an honor to speak with you and reflect on where we stand as a university and where we are going. I will tell you, I have never been more honored to be the leader of this great university or more proud to be a Nebraskan by choice. As I address you today, we continue to confront significant challenges that demand our ongoing attention while also embracing opportunities for reinvention and for growth. Through it all, the University of Nebraska's land-grant mission, together with the strategic plan that we have built collaboratively over the past year, remains our compass, guiding us forward on our journey towards the extraordinary. Since our last meeting, we have marked several important milestones across the University of Nebraska system, moments that underscore the breadth and the depth of our hard work and builds upon the clearly defined value that the university brings to our state. In May alone, we awarded 7,261 undergraduate, graduate, and professional degrees across all of our campuses. That number reflects the individual achievement of thousands of students, as well as the collective strength of our faculty, our staff, academic programs, and partnerships. These graduates will power Nebraska's workforce and contribute to our communities in every county and in every corner of the state and far beyond. From Scottsbluff to Omaha, we continue to demonstrate the enduring value of quality, accessible higher education. Last month, we also celebrated the grand opening of the Catalyst building in Omaha, a milestone moment for our Academic Health Science Center and for the public-private redevelopment taking place in the New Age District. The Catalyst building is more than just a structure, more than a skeleton of a century-old steel processing plant. It is a space for university researchers, private industry, and, very importantly, entrepreneurs to collaborate in accelerating innovation in medicine and across of healthcare. It's the kind of investment that strengthens our economic competitiveness and reinforces the university's central role in driving growth and discovery while drawing new and exciting corporate investments to our home communities. Just recently at UNO, we broke ground on the third phase of the biomechanics research building, an expansion funded entirely through private philanthropy. This addition will enhance one of the world's premier biomechanics programs with new capabilities to study cardiovascular disease and help more Nebraskans live longer, healthier lives. Our deep gratitude to the Bill and Ruth Scott Family Foundation for this investment in our university, and by the way, countless others that are truly immeasurable. At UNK, we proudly announced that Dr. Neil Schnorr became the priority candidate for the position of Chancellor. A highly respected educator, administrator, and leader, Dr. Schnorr brings a wealth of experience and a deep connection to UNK. As a native Nebraskan, and having served in several key roles on our Kearney campus in the past, his return has been met with great enthusiasm from the campus and the community. And just later today, the Board of Regents will vote on the confirmation of the next Chancellor. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Bisick, who is with us, to specifically call out not only in his role as the interim Chancellor for the last year, but also as a long-term leader, friend, and cheerleader for the Kearney campus. Charlie, we owe you a great deal, and I hope we keep you close over time. You will not be the first person to fail retirement. It's a contagious disease. The new Diabetes Center for Excellence in Diabetes Care, Research, and Education will allow UNMC to develop a comprehensive interdisciplinary program in diabetes treatment, research, and education by bringing together disparate programs across campuses, across the university system, and across the state. You'll hear more about that when we introduce the resolution. And as a community, we've had much to celebrate in athletics, another vital part of the student experience and a shared source of pride across our state. Husker baseball won the Big Ten championship. Husker football advanced to the NCAA Super Regionals for the first time in a decade. And of course, we celebrate Jordy Bahl, not just for her success as a Big Ten Player of the Year, but for earning her degree just this last spring. And as the NIL settlement rolls forward to be effective on July 1st, this will truly test the stability and the vision of all of our athletic programs at a time of great change in intercollegiate athletics. These achievements, academic, research, and athletic, and so many more, are a reflection of the excellence we strive for and achieve in every corner of the university. And they come at a time that we're all navigating the complex realities and challenges. As we know, the Nebraska legislature concluded the 2025 session last April. We're grateful to the governor and to the legislature for their continued investment in the University of Nebraska. Despite a challenging budget environment, the legislature and the governor supported a modest increase in our funding. However, the state appropriation fell short of what was requested. It does not fully cover the inflationary pressures. It does not cover the rising cost of employee benefits, and it certainly does not cover the strategic investments required to sustain and build upon our momentum. This appropriation also comes at a time in which the future of federal research grants, contracts, and other funding that have historically supported colleges and universities across our nation is uncertain. And that gap leaves us with difficult decisions as we look to preserve the core of our mission, to make critical investments, to recruit and retain talented faculty and staff, and all while remaining financially responsible. We are responding to these challenges and doing everything we can to turn them into opportunities with discipline and care. In the coming weeks, we will implement several important cost-saving measures. Today, the board will also consider our annual budget, as we do every June. The proposal we bring to the board today and have brought through our committee structures includes a 5% tuition increase and well more than $20 million of additional cuts to our core budget that sit on top of more than $100 million of reductions over the last decade. These decisions are not made lightly, particularly from my personal perspective as a first-generation student. But they are necessary if we're to maintain the academic quality that Nebraskans expect and deserve from us. Even with this increase, our university will remain one of the most affordable in all of our peer groups, including the Big Ten, and will continue to protect access and affordability for Nebraskan students and families. As part of our desire to ensure the university's long-term fiscal health, we must take a closer look at tuition remissions that we can control. We deeply respect the legislature's desire to provide free tuition for veterans, first responders, and their families. But when those costs are not funded, the university is forced to absorb them and pass them along to other students. That's why we're reviewing institutionally controlled remissions, including Regents scholarships, the Presidential Scholars Programs, and so many others. We remain committed to recruiting top students, as well as honoring all scholarships that we have already awarded. But we must also be fiscally responsible in going forward in managing the remissions within our control while we work with the legislature to better manage the many millions of dollars of unfunded tuition mandates. All of these actions that I described are guided by the strategic plan that the board has formally approved at our last meeting. In the context of the challenges I just described, our strategic plan becomes not only a vision for the future, but an essential roadmap for decision-making and planning. The strategic framework that we adopted earlier this year rests on 5 foundational pillars: extraordinary teaching and learning, extraordinary research and creative activity, extraordinary partnerships and engagement, extraordinary culture and environment, and extraordinary stewardship and effectiveness. Together, these 5 pillars define what it means to be a high-impact public university, and to give us a shared language to guide our work today and our vision for tomorrow across all campuses and disciplines. Since the board approved this, we've been working to implement this framework in real practical ways. At the system level, we've launched work groups to develop metrics and to identify opportunities to enhance efficiency. Each campus is aligning its own planning efforts with the system-wide framework, ensuring that we move forward together. We move forward with clarity and with purpose. Our focus on strategic alignment is already shaping key initiatives. For example, our move towards joint accreditation of UNL and UNMC, while still in the final planning stages, is rooted deeply in our strategic priorities. Earlier this month, both campuses hosted a site visit from the Higher Learning Commission as part of this accreditation process. Joint accreditation will raise the entire university's profile, aligning with other highly regarded peer institutions and ensuring that we are creating more valuable opportunities for students, for faculty, staff, and for all of our stakeholders. We're also focused on ensuring our academic offerings meet the evolving needs of our students and employers. Later today, the board will consider several proposals that continue our work to simplify and modernize our several existing degree programs, as well as proposals to add new degrees and new programs. These new degrees on the agenda today include a new undergraduate degree in robotics engineering and one in multiple disciplinary studies, both at UNL. While very different, these programs share common goals of providing flexible and relevant degrees that are highly aligned with an ever-evolving, high-technology workforce demand. This is what strategic planning looks like in action: investing where the need is the greatest, cutting where we must, and always keeping our mission front and center. That mission is broad, but it is not abstract. It is lived out every day in classrooms and research labs, on farms and ranches, on performance stages, in clinics and in communities across Nebraska. It is the result of a university system that is deeply embedded in the fabric of this state, a university system that is committed to access, service, and on an odyssey to the extraordinary. We know, and I certainly know, that the path ahead will not be easy. We face real financial constraints, but we also have real opportunities to be more nimble, more innovative, more intentional on how we serve the people of Nebraska. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you, particularly thank the members of the board as I approach my one-year term here for your leadership, your support as we navigate these challenges together. I also want to particularly thank our faculty and staff, our students, and all of our partners across the state for your commitment to continued work ahead, your commitment to our university system. With a clear plan, with a unified team, and with a shared sense of purpose, I have no doubt that the University of Nebraska will continue to thrive, to be one of our state's and our nation's greatest assets, and an exemplar of superb and forward-thinking public higher education across our country. I thank you, Regent Kinney, for the privilege of sharing this information.
Thank you, President Gold. We'll now move on to the public comment portion of today's meeting. The standing rules of the board provide that any person or persons may appear and address the Board of Regents on an item that are not on the agenda, if an individual provides corporate secretary at least 24 hours notice. We were not contacted by any individuals wishing to speak on a topic that are not on today's agenda. Standing rules also provide that anyone desiring to speak on concerning any item on the agenda for this meeting, regardless of notice, may do so. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? John?
Good morning, Board and President Gold, and thank you very much for the warm welcome this morning. We appreciate it. I'm John Schrader, Faculty Senate President of UNL. In a May email, Senate presidents from all 4 campuses advocated for more transparency for Nebraskans and increased dialogue with faculty senates for any proposed changes to administrative units and/or academic programs. You are reviewing these bylaws, so we thought it would be an opportune time to update the language to reflect the desired fundamental rules governing the University of Nebraska system. Board of Regents bylaws section 2.12 gives shared governance to faculty senates across the campuses. In the spirit of shared governance, we would make 2 requests. 1, formal consultation with campus-based faculty governance bodies prior to any final decision regarding the consolidation of or elimination of administrative units. Defined in section 1.1, a campus or any part or program of a campus. This first request could be accomplished by adding faculty senates to an advisory group to the president in section 2.7 of the bylaws, and maybe a subsection 2.7.1 that calls for this advisory role specifically. The Board of Regents, number 2, retains the approval authority to create, consolidate, or eliminate any administrative units and not delegate this authority to any single person or entity. The current bylaws and the proposed bylaw changes for section 1.6 allow the board to delegate the NU president the approval authority to create, consolidate, or eliminate any administrative unit, academic unit, department, or school. While we are confident the Board of Regents would not delegate authority for the closure of a campus, for example, we're concerned that the bylaws allow for such delegation. The second request then could be fulfilled by deleting section 1.6D from the proposed bylaw changes. The Regents represent Nebraskans across the state, and citizens of Nebraska should have the opportunity to give Regents their thoughts regarding any major changes to our campuses and academic programs. The NU system supports all Nebraskans, allowing them to voice their thoughts through public hearings such as this one, and helps the board understand the impact of program changes. Should the Board of Regents delegate the authority for changing academic programs, this important aspect of representing Nebraskans may be lost. And finally, we'd like to make it clear that our requests are in no way a reflection of the work by President Gold or the current Regents. We appreciate Dr. Gold's willingness to work with faculty across all 4 campuses and the Regents' continued hard work to improve the NU system for all Nebraskans. The bylaws govern the NU system beyond one president or one Board of Regents group. As you discuss the bylaws today, we, the representative body for all faculty across the NU system, hope you'll amend the current bylaws proposal by deleting the proposed 1.6D and adding faculty senates as an advisory group to the president in section 2.7. Thank you very much for your time, and we provided written remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mary Jane?
I apologize. I had sent an email, and I don't know what happened to it, but I'm Mary Jane Trumper, and I am chairman of the Nebraska Republican Party. I'm here today to speak to you briefly about the uptick in anti-Semitism, anti-Catholic rhetoric, and even anti-Muslim rhetoric that is happening now. We don't have to look far in this world to see what is happening. We had 200 Nigerian Christians that were burned to death by jihadists in Nigeria last Friday. We are on the brink of another Middle East war. And if you look here in the United States, or on college campuses in our cities, there's a definite uptick in anti-Semitism, violence, anti-Catholics sentiment. Catholics have been, our own government has put us on watch list. So the reason I'm here, though, was the recent incident where there was a mockery of the Catholic Mass by a doctoral student. And I want to say that I realize that the student handbook probably has a list of things that you're not allowed to do, but that can encompass everything, and that does not make for an ethical decision. Just as Nebraska law, everything that is legal is not ethical. And so I would ask all of you to look at developing an ethical guideline, if there's one there, to review it. And some of these issues need to be addressed because I don't see them getting any better, especially with the state of the world. And I worry about the safety of everyone, and not just, any particular group, but everyone. And if we let this rhetoric and these kind of actions increase, and I'm a free speech person. I very much believe in civil liberties. I don't think that every provocative idea is a good idea, and I certainly don't think every provocative idea deserves a doctorate. So I just ask that there be some wisdom, some review, some thinking about these actions. And I would also, as I told my son when he was growing up, doing nothing is a decision too, and we're held accountable for that. So I would just ask that doing nothing not be the option here, and that we address it before it gets even more out of hand. And so that's what I have to say today. Thank you for your time, Dr. Gold, and Regents.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on a topic that is part of today's agenda? If so, please come forward, identify yourself, and complete the sign-in sheet before you leave. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. There being no other persons wishing to comment, I now declare the opportunity for public comment closed. It is now time to consider the consent agenda. The consent agenda is indicated by its name, is moved and voted on as a group of action items, as opposed to administrative agenda where each is considered and discussed individually. With that said, unless one of my colleagues on the board wishes to consider any of these items on the administrative agenda separately, we would invite a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved. Is there a second? Any comments? Any comments? All in favor? Yes, roll call.
Roll call.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Lacey?
Yes.
Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot? Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot? Regent Claire? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd like to ask President Gold to walk us through the items that are on the administrative agenda. President?
Thank you, Regent Kinney. Item 11A1 seeks your approval for programs reviewed at UNK, UNL, and UNO. Each major or individual degree slated for review has been analyzed using the productivity thresholds established by the Coordinating Commission of Public Higher Education, better known as the CCPE. The Board of Regents is asked to approve the report after doing so and forward it to the CCPE. Except where noted, the Board recommends to the CCPE that the degree programs included in the report all be continued. When programs do not appear to meet the CCPE's numerical thresholds, Nebraska Revised Statute Section 85-1414 requires that an in-depth review be conducted. Such programs potentially require reviews and are noted accordingly. And upon confirmation from the CCPE, reviews will be requested and reported to the board in academic year 2026. This item was reviewed and recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval today.
Is there a motion to approve 11-A-1? Is there a second? Any comments? Roll call, please.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Lacey?
Yes.
Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites? Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Claire? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Motion passes.
Item 11A2 seeks your approval to continue the PhD degree in philosophy at the University of Nebraska Lincoln campus with an action plan that includes measures to reduce attrition and time to degree, as well as additional support for graduate teaching assistants, with the expectation that these measures will increase the number of students by the time of the next review. This item also seeks your approval for transitioning the BA degree in religion at UNO to a specialization concentration option of another degree. And finally, 11A2 also seeks your approval of the Physics Department Action Plan, which includes continuation of a singular revised physics Bachelor's of Science degree at UNK. The Department of Physics and Astronomy has been actively working at UNK to consolidate programs and to address low numbers of students and graduates. With respect to this change, later in this meeting, you'll be asked to vote on a number of program deletions within this department at UNK, which helps facilitate this consolidation. The report for this continuation of philosophy at UNL and the changes that will be made to physics at UNK shall be reported to the Coordinating Commission as required. This item was also reviewed and recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I do recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11-A-2? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussions?
Regent Lysy,
Yes.
Regent Calamari,
Yes.
Regent Wilkins,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites, Regent Wilmot, Regent Clare, Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor, Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11A3 seeks your approval of certain outside activities that are being undertaken by members of the university staff. Due to the private nature of these requests and the private information contained therein, the board will be provided the specifics in a closed session later in this meeting, and then will be asked to vote on this item after returning from that closed session. We now move to item 11A4, 11A5, 11A6, and 11A7 that seek your approval to delete various undergraduate bachelor's degrees in the Department of Physics and Astronomy in the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Specifically, item 11A4 seeks approval to delete the undergraduate Bachelor's of Science in Astrophysics comprehensive degree. Item 11A5 seeks approval to delete the undergraduate Bachelor's of Science and Arts degree in Physical Science. Item 11A6 seeks approval to delete the undergraduate Bachelor of Science degree in Astronomy, and item 11A7 seeks approval to delete the undergraduate Bachelor of Science degree in Physics Comprehensive Engineering emphasis. These deletions are each proposed as part of the strategic alignment of the Department of Physics and Astronomy in consolidating multiple existing majors into a streamlined structure as referenced previously. This will offer a comprehensive degree with distinct subject emphasis rather than separate degree programs. Again, these items were carefully reviewed and each are recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend them to you today for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11A4, 5, 6, and 7? Tim makes the motion. Is there a second? Any comments? There's a lot there. Seeing none, roll call.
Regent Wilkins,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder, Regent Lysy, Regent Calamari,
Yes.
Regent Whites, Regent Wilmot, Regent Clare, Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor, Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear, Regent Stark.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11A8 seeks your approval to delete the undergraduate Bachelor's of Science degree in Spanish Translation and Interpretation Comprehensive offered by the Department of Modern Languages in the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. This deletion is proposed again based on low enrollment and a strategic realignment of the department's offerings. Current students will be moved to the Modern Languages Bachelor of Arts with Spanish Translation and Interpretation emphasis and should be able to complete their major in a timely manner. This item was also reviewed and recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I do recommend it to you today for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11A8? Jim makes it. How about a second? Jim, any comments?
I wanted to say that while it's unfortunate the enrollment in this program is low, I'm glad that there's going to be a continued emphasis as Spanish education is really important in our rural communities, as is court interpretation as well.
Sam? Anyone else?
And I would echo that because I know in our rural, that is a place where we that emphasis is going to be.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Lacey,
Yes.
Regent Calamari,
Yes.
Regent Wilkins,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot, Regent Claire, Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor, Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11A9 seeks your approval to delete the undergraduate Bachelor of Arts degree in English with a writing emphasis. This is offered by the Department of English in the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. This deletion is proposed now as a merger of English and English writing majors into a single Bachelor of Arts in English program. Current students will be able to complete their degrees as planned. New students who may have chosen English writing can now enroll, if they choose, in the English Bachelor of Arts with a writing focus. This item was reviewed and recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you today for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11A9?
Second.
Motion's been made. Any discussion? Charlie?
Regent Kenny, I would simply like to say that the combination of the 5 changes in physics and now Spanish interpretation along with English are all part of a continuing effort to address the notion of simplification and modification that President Gold mentioned, with the idea that we focus on those areas that provide a significant return and for which we know there is demand, but at the same time we keep open those options for students to follow pathways in areas of emphasis or cognate areas, if you like, to address needs across the state of Nebraska. It'll be a process that continues.
Charlie, the board appreciates that. Any other questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Regent Lacey,
Yes.
Regent Calamari,
Yes.
Regent Wilkins,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Claire, Regent Kenny, Regent O'Connor, Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot.
Yes, and to Chancellor Bisek, I think we all know the writing skills that we see every day are not great. So that emphasis in there is again, it's another critical thing I see in daily.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11A10 seeks your approval to establish the undergraduate Bachelor's of Science degree in Robotics Engineering offered by the College of Engineering at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln campus. This degree is designed to meet the rapidly growing demand for skilled professionals in a rapidly developing field. Robotics and automation have become integral components to numerous Nebraska industries, including agriculture, manufacturing, and even in healthcare. At present, there are nearly 100 unfilled job openings for robotics professionals in Nebraska, highlighting the demand for industry professionals with this specialized experience and skill set. Approval of this 128 credit hour bachelor's degree would require simultaneously approval to create a degree with greater than 120 credit hours. This is consistent with many other engineering degrees offered by UNL, with similar programs at peer institutions, and is necessary to meet both the general education requirements of the university campus and the standards set by the accrediting body, the ABET. This item was reviewed and strongly recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it today for your approval.
There's a second. Chancellor, would you like to add any color to this?
We're very excited to add this to our degree offering in our College of Engineering. And I really want to compliment Dr. Button and Dean Lance Perez for their leadership in bringing this program forward, and then certainly working with David Jackson and Academic Affairs here at Varner Hall to help us get it across the finish line.
Exactly the types of programs that we need to be looking at. When you consider in the College of Engineering, the students there, 75% of the jobs that those students will be having haven't even been invented yet. This is exactly the type of program that gets us out front to prepare our students for the challenges that are going to face them upon graduation and in their life, and we are doing a better job by offering these types of courses, these types of programs, because it will prepare them for those challenges. And the global economy that we face today, they will be better served and better prepared for those roles.
Jim?
More of a question, and I don't know if it'd be to Rodney or Jeff, that it's great that we're moving in a direction that is new and probably going to be a very useful one. But the comment that 70% of the people the jobs aren't even created yet, but it also means that there are individuals out there right now that are doing some type of job that will not be available in the near future in a number of years. And so my question, with our new certificate programs that are stackable and so forth, are we going to be able to offer certificates to help in the training and the re-education of those that may be wanting to shift their area of expertise to this or any of the others that we see coming up through the lines?
You know, it's a really important question, sir, and Rodney can weigh in a second, I'm sure, but I can tell you that generally automation and a lot of the work that's been done with artificial intelligence and now with generative artificial intelligence actually creates jobs because the software and the hardware, these devices and robots not only need to be designed and manufactured, but we need a workforce that has to know how to use them effectively. And so it will require quite a bit of upskilling, but at the end of the day, if we don't do this here in Nebraska, it is certainly going to be done elsewhere, either across the country or around the world. So it would be far better for us to have, I believe, to have a leadership role in this. But in answer to your question, the ability to provide additional education and training, upskilling is what I would call it, for workforce whose job might be partially or completely replaced by automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, etc., exists today widely across the university system. It's just a matter of making sure the individuals who are, you look at agriculture today, I mean, it is totally changed by satellite imaging, by the use of drones and automation and fertigation and several other areas. You look at healthcare, I remember when robotics was first rolled out in surgery, that it became a really, really rare opportunity. But right now, any large medical center in the United States, or even moderately small ones, offer robotic surgery because it improves quality of life, shortens operative time, discomfort, hospitalization, etc. And by the way, has created a tremendous demand for technicians, for additional surgical education, for the manufacturing of these robots, not the least of which, for instance, would be Virtual Incision, developed here, which is an amazing company for surgical robotics. I don't know, Chancellor, would you want to comment?
I think President Gold is exactly correct in everything that he just said. The only thing I guess I would add is that we see this as an opportunity to continue what President Gold and I have been talking a lot about in terms of partnerships with our state colleges and community colleges. The presidents of those institutions are very interesting in how we can do some interdisciplinary collaborative work to make sure that as those students are matriculating at those levels, that they're able to sort of continue their education and training through programs offered by the University of Nebraska. So I think a very comprehensive approach of what we're doing, but also taking into consideration the partnership opportunities that are available across higher education in the state of Nebraska, give us limitless opportunities to how to meet the current workforce needs and how to provide additional training.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Regent Calamari.
Yes.
Regent Wilkins.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Lacey.
Yes.
Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor. Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Shear.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Wilmot.
Yes.
Regent Clare. Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11A11 seeks your approval today to establish the undergraduate Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science degrees in modern languages by merging the current French and German majors offered by the Department of Modern Languages and Literatures in the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Nebraska. Students will complete didactic, clinical, and practicum courses. Currently, the Department of Modern Languages and Literatures offers both French and German majors for the Bachelors of Arts and the Bachelors of Science. Proposed modification will join them into a single major, Modern Languages, with the option in French and an option in German. If the merger is approved, the individual majors in French and in German will be discontinued for new students and deleted after all of the current students pursuing these programs have completed them. This item was also reviewed and recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you today for your approval.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve 11A11? Second?
Second.
Motion's been made. Any second? Any further discussion? Roll call.
Regent Wilkins. Regent Schroeder. Regent Lacey.
Yes.
Regent Calamari. Regent O'Connor. Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Shear.
Yes.
Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Wilmot.
Yes.
Regent Clare. Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11A12 excuse me, seeks your approval to establish the undergraduate Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science degrees in multidisciplinary studies to be offered by the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. This new major was designed to address an unmet need at UNL, allowing students to complete their degree in the most efficient and cost-effective way possible. The multidisciplinary studies major is a viable option for any student or former student with college credit but no degree who has completed either at UNL or elsewhere 60 or more UNL degree applicable credit hours. While the major will be unique to each student pursuing it, its simple structure with 2 core courses and 3 focus or theme components make it much easier to plan and for a non-traditional student to pursue. Completion of a 4-year college degree is often a requirement for many jobs in many employment sectors. Many of those jobs do not require a specific major, but rather the broad, transferable knowledge and skills that college graduates possess. This degree will help prepare those students for jobs that have exactly these types of requirements. This item was reviewed and is recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you today for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11A12?
Moved.
One of you can be the second.
We don't care.
Any comments?
Yeah, so for a very long time, I've heard the board and campuses talk a lot about looking at the duplication and overlapping of certain services and kind of eliminating those. And to my knowledge, UNO already kind of has a well-established multidisciplinary major. And I actually would like to extend my privilege of speaking to Chancellor Lee to shed more light on this.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Regent, for asking this question. While I can speculate the great intention of the current proposed Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science at Lincoln in the multidisciplinary studies, I feel compelled to inform the board that UNO actually has a Bachelor of Multidisciplinary Studies since 1951. And currently, spring 2025 enrollment is 768 students. In academic year 24-25, we have 262 completions. So as I indicated, I actually appreciate a great intention, but I do believe that that could create a market confusion in explaining to our learners within the state of Nebraska. So I feel like I need to point it out to you.
I do have a question on this. So would most of the programs involved in it be like asynchronous or like online learning? Or in that case, I would say that UNO having this makes sense. But if there are some in-person aspects to it, I think that having one in Lincoln wouldn't be necessarily a disadvantage as well.
Chancellor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Regent, for asking such a question. The program actually at UNO began offering distance education courses in 1997 and an entirely online degree in 2007. The program at UNO is created to be a flexible program that have two pathways, focusing on area of concentration and taking a broader approach with smaller areas of emphasis. When the time this program was created in 1951, I was not born. However, I must say that we can only speculate with the student body of UNO. This is extremely important for us to define that market space for urban university. In that program right now, we have over 30 concentrations are embedded across the college, leveraging college expertise and faculty workload. So we believe it's a campus level program. And we also advocate students, particularly military-connected students, to enroll in this particular bachelor degree. So yes, we do have online.
Chancellor Bennett, do you have any comments on this class?
No, sir, I don't. But Chancellor Lee raised a question about duplication of programs. And while perhaps today is not the right day to have a conversation about duplication of programs, I certainly would welcome an opportunity for the board to explore duplication of programs, because I think there are significant programs that the University of Nebraska Lincoln has offered that other institutions have also been able to offer. So if the board has an appetite at some point going forward to do a deeper dive into how we handle the duplication of programs across the system, the University of Nebraska Lincoln is certainly willing to have that conversation.
I think the very specific question was asked, though, whether this new program concentration at UNL would be an in-person traditional program. Would it be a purely online program, and meaning would it offer opportunities to students that chose to be on the Lincoln campus? I think that was the question that was asked.
Well, and Dr. Button is here. I'll defer to him if he'd like to go to the podium, Dr. Button, the center podium, and maybe address that question specifically. Dr. Button is our interim executive vice chancellor for academic affairs.
Good afternoon. Yes, so the majority of these courses are going to be in person on our campus. There will be some options for students to take courses online, but it's substantially an in-person program. Some of the other distinguishing features of this program is that it's specifically targeted for students who have already completed 60 credit hours of their college education, and this is a way for them to get that degree completed. You'll see in the proposal that has strong support from several community colleges, Northeast, Southeast, and Central Community College. Our intention with this program is specifically to be able to provide a flexible pathway for students coming from community colleges. And so the proposal was developed in close collaboration with our community college partners because we want to make sure that those students are served well by our campus. I would say that while we share concerns about duplication always, It's also the case that I think every university should have a program like this that's designed to help suit the needs of students who face unique circumstances as they transition to our campus. This also includes student athletes who find themselves in a situation where they need a way to ensure that they provide a pathway for their degree completion when they come to our campus. And so I think it's suiting the needs of a variety of unique students in a manner that also builds on existing programs.
I do have a question. Would this item require any additional hiring of faculty or create any additional courses?
It would not, no. No, it's using our existing programs, our existing advising staff to help students meet their degree completion. It really is just giving us another kind of mechanism to help students get that degree and for UNL to be a part of that plan for students.
Kathy?
I thank Liz for asking that question. That's the question I wanted to ask because having been a non-traditional student, it sounds good to me though to have that offered in other places. I started out at a smaller college and came into, and I'm so old, but you know, I know that having that flexibility and having it in different geographic areas is helpful to a lot of students.
Go back to Chancellor.
I would like to go on the record for today's board minutes. I never used the word duplication. I actually mentioned the concern is really about market confusion. I already said that I actually empathize with the great intention of creating such program. So my concern is if we have the same name, it will create market confusion. Since our program already established in 1951 and have a very defined pathway going forward, if University of Nebraska system like to consider this pathway at UNL, I would suggest maybe create another name to distinguish our pathway going forward.
Barbara, did you have a?
One of the things that strikes me about all the things we're doing in this section around becoming more flexible, offering opportunities for students, I think we need to also pay attention to having a very robust advisory system because these changes are somewhat complicated even for those of us who have been in system for a long time. And then because we're starting to put things together, which I think collaboratively says a lot about our interest in efficiency and effectiveness. One of the things I think that we need to consider is how this gets communicated to people who are first-time college student generations, people who perhaps come from other areas of the world. And I really think advisement as we go forward is going to be a critical piece for us. And I want to make sure the board knows that I'm very much interested in that.
Tim?
Well, I understand the concern by UNO for the protection of its current program, and it may be semantics, but if we are approving this, is it the type of class or structure, or can you simply have the ability to name it something differently to stop the confusion with UNO? They've worked very hard to establish that. And as well, because they are similar, I mean, if it's just the semantics of the title class, that I think, at least for the next 2 or 3 years, I'd like to see a reviewed enrollment for both of them, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to rob Peter to pay Paul. If all we're doing is transferring students from one to the other and numbers remain the same, it may be a convenience, but the convenience then, if we're going to be fair about it, has to go then to UNK as well, or any of the other facilities that we have. I'm not trying to pick winners and losers as far as campuses. So I would, if UNL can name the degree or their program different than that of UNO under this motion, I can support it. If this is specific and they can't, then I would like to be able to amend the motion so that it allows UNL to make that change, because I both should stand on their own. And if we've got a program that's 75 years old, one campus, and we now are going to allow another campus, regardless if it happened to be UNL or any of the others, and simply rename it exactly the same thing, I see that confusion. So that's my question. Do we need to amend this motion, or is that available under the current motion?
I guess, how's this any different from having a business degree or an accounting degree from one campus?
Well, I think to the extent it's not an accounting degree, it's titled differently. And so, and you probably have some degrees that are the same, but when you have only one campus that has that degree available, and that it's been available for 75 years, I don't think it's asking too much to try to protect that interest by that campus.
I guess I kind of see this a little bit along the line of what Rob just asked. I mean, we know what campus they're dealing with. And so if the titles are the same, I really don't see the confusion. There may be a layer to this I'm not seeing, but I agree, because there's a lot of degrees that are named. Simplified look at it, probably.
It's the old saying, a rose by any other name is still a rose.
Maybe not. We haven't said what color it is. My question still hasn't been answered. Is it available to be changed under this motion?
Comment, sir?
Yeah, I guess I would defer to our attorney in the room. Can we just change the motion or vote this one down? And my thoughts are is probably, and I don't know what happened in academic affairs, but this conversation shouldn't be talked about at this board table. I mean, that should have been vetted before we got here.
Well, evidently it wasn't, or at least I wasn't aware of it, so.
Nor was I, wasn't, but.
But that's maybe my stupidity, maybe I wasn't listening, so I'm not gonna say that it wasn't brought up or not. I mean, all of us miss things, but on the same hand, it is important, at least to me, on how I would vote on this motion.
Would there be a concern with tabling this until the next meeting so that we can discuss this and hash these problems out?
So we have a motion on the floor, so we either have to pass or turn it back.
Well, the motion to table is a secondary motion that can be made at any time. Jordan, smiling at me.
Yeah. No,
had enough experience on the floor of the House.
We can. Yeah, I mean, it's available without question, so, and we can do that.
Just to answer your question, if I may, it's my understanding that this degree program was very carefully discussed at the level of the chief academic officers, which includes all of our campuses. It was discussed at Academic Affairs Committee. It was discussed at Executive Committee before creating the agenda for today, and it's here for the review. Having said that, I would also add that multidisciplinary studies is a term of art, very much like accounting or statistics or, fill in the blank. And it is typically offered at multiple sites. This particular program, because of the course offerings at UNL, is different by definition than the course offerings at UNO, then it would be different at the course offerings at UNK. I certainly have no objection to tabling the motion for future discussion and possible name change, but just to make the point that multidisciplinary studies is a term of art, and indeed it does raise the question of potential confusion of students in terms of the branding and marketing, but at the same time, so does accounting and statistics and biology and...
Well, understood, but I guess we don't have to add to the process, and me, that's what we're doing. So if that's the case, I would offer a motion to table this until the August meeting.
Motion to table, Barb, would you?
Yeah, I just wonder if,
Excuse
could
me,
hear
but
from our
there's a motion,
provost.
there's
There's a
we got a
motion
motion
to-
on the floor,
Oh,
so
there's a
either
motion.
second or not, either way, but.
Is there a second to?
Second.
Second,
Motion's been made and seconded to table it.
Question, though, is if we're going to put this off until August, how much does that delay us actually meeting needs that could benefit from this degree?
Well, I would doubt very much that they're gonna have it up and operational.
Offering it this semester, this coming fall semester.
Playing things for students.
Could the beauty of that be that they take the classes online from UNO, though? For the same degree?
could we have a comment from the provost, academic affairs about this?
So my observation would be that if we're really talking about a name change, possible name change, fundamental concept is acceptable and want to encourage and
Thank you. I mean,
consideration.
that was my question. I didn't necessarily have to change it. I'm just wanting to know if it's permissible for that to be done so that there isn't the confusion, and by the folks at UNO. And I appreciate their
And
wanting
that
to
is
make
a
sure that they're
mechanism.
defending their program. So if that's the case, then, I'm
That
fine
is definitely
passing
the case, sir.
Okay, well then
can do that.
I'm fine voting for it as long as we aren't gonna have a program that's gonna be confusing.
Parliament, we have two motions on the table, I believe.
I would withdraw my motion.
I withdraw my second.
We have the primary motion on the table to approve this program with an understanding that a recommendation for a name change will be proffered and executed by the Office of the President.
Thank you.
Anyone else? We want everyone's voice heard. Jack, we haven't heard from you yet. Anyone?
That's a first.
Thank you. Roll call.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Lacey, Regent Calamari,
Yes.
Regent Wilkins,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot,
Yes.
Regent Claire,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, I think. Item 11A13 seeks your approval to establish the Diabetes Center of Excellence in Diabetic Care, Research, and Education. This new Diabetes Center for Excellence in Care, Research, and Education will allow UNMC to develop a comprehensive interdisciplinary program in diabetes treatment, research, and education by bringing together currently disparate programs across the campus and across the entire University of Nebraska system. The center, whose director will be supported by a fully endowed professorship from a large community foundation, will position UNMC to attract additional research funding, including applying for a prestigious NIH Diabetes Center in the future. UNMC has had a long-standing program in telehealth and diabetes care across Nebraska, and this center will allow us to strengthen diabetes care and prevention across the state, especially in rural communities. By attracting specialized personnel and additional research funding, the center will foster innovation in diabetes management to lower healthcare costs and address rural healthcare disparities through diabetes prevention and early diagnosis. This item was reviewed and recommended by the Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend it to you today for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is there a motion to approve 11A13?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments?
I just would like to ask, I know it's a lot about research, so are we looking at additional state dollars that we're having to take during this time, or are we looking for these to all be outside dollars coming in?
I'll throw that one back to Delhi.
So thank you, Regent Wilmot. This is actually a very unique opportunity for UNMC and the state of Nebraska. I'll address your question in a moment, but I just want to point out that diabetes accounts for 10% of the population have diabetes, and that's not counting people with pre-diabetes. Healthcare costs of $400 billion, including over 300 in direct and another 90 in indirect costs. And so we have a lot of programs already across UNMC that are doing their own thing, but not coordinated in any fashion. How this has all come together in a unique way is that we have a Diabetes Care Foundation, to your question, that has been very active, and one of the actors in that is actually an endocrinologist, which is a specialty that deals with diabetes, and they made a large donation to us. Part of that donation has been actually working for the last few years in Wayne and Hastings to try and reduce pre-diabetes and diabetes care, so directly addressing the care issue. They've also established a presidential chair. So we're going to have new resources flowing into this, and then we're going to pull resources from some of the other activities that are currently discoordinated and bring them together. The dean of the college has committed some funds to support this because it's such an important issue for the state. And so we feel like, in spite of all the conversations about budget, this is an important opportunity to leverage these external funds that we're getting and include our own resources to manage a problem that's hugely important to the state of Nebraska.
I may comment a little bit more, Regent Wilmot. The predominant research that this center has been doing, and without being a formal Board of Regents designated center, and will continue to do, is clinical research. This is really about identifying and preventing prediabetes in rural communities and underserved communities in Nebraska, which is, Chancellor Davies says is at least a 10% challenge in our state. But the core reason we're bringing it to the board at this time is there is significant additional private philanthropic support and public federal support that will be available by taking this action.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a comment. I just want to say that this is a great opportunity for UNMC students. It will bring in more opportunities for research in like the diabetes field, as well as potentially training opportunities down the line. And you see diabetes and its sequelae in the hospital every day. And it's certainly something that students in any medical field are going to be approaching on a daily basis. So having this center will definitely enhance the education that UNMC can give.
Thank you. Anyone else? Roll call.
Regent Lacey?
Yes.
Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Claire? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And the last item under academic affairs is item 11A14 that seeks your approval to eliminate the Center for Advanced Surgical Technology, also known as CAST, in the College of Medicine at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. The Center for Advanced Surgical Technology was established in 2004, and as technology progressed, it became a very successful partnership between UNL and UNMC that was ultimately commercialized through a company now known as Virtual Incision, an early-stage development company that manufactures and tests surgical robots. You may recall the recent news article of the robot being tested in the space station. However, there is no further active development at UNMC, and therefore the center is not needed, and therefore no longer needs any dedicated budget. This item was reviewed and recommended by Academic Affairs Committee, and I do recommend it to you for your approval today.
Is there a motion to approve 11A14?
So moved.
Motion been made. Need a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Again, just to talk about the historical significance of this unit, I think it's something we could all be very proud of. First of all, a great collaboration between UNMC and UNO. Dr. Dmitry Olenikov and Dr. Shin Ferido created this. This is now a multi-million-dollar company that's naturally now commercialized. So something you can all be very proud of. But as President Gold points out, it's sort of a historical relic now. It's not adding any value. So time to move on and recognize a great historical unit that we can all be very proud of as a university system.
Thank you. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Regent Calamari.
Yes.
Regent Wilkins.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Lacey. Regent Stark.
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Yes.
Regent Wilmot.
Yes.
Regent Claire. Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor. Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Shear.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we move on to the business and finance section of our administrative agenda. Items 11B1, 11B2, 11B3, and 11B4 seek your approval today of Fund B, University Program for Facilities Fee Allocation for the 2025-2026 fiscal year at UNK, UNL, UNMC, and UNO respectively. The allocations at UNK, UNL, and UNO are not changing, while the allocation for a part-time student at UNMC will change just slightly. There are some reallocations which you'll see in the materials that are provided to you in advance of this meeting. These items were carefully reviewed, discussed, and recommended by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend them to you today for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11B1, 2, 3, and 4?
Yeah.
Motion been made. Need a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll put forth that this was discussed, these changes with the students at UNMC at least, and there was approval from them. There has been years where we have not increased the funds for a long time, so it's only rational that eventually we have to keep up with inflationary pressures.
Anyone else? Sam, you were thinking something. Roll call vote, please.
Regent Wilkins.
Yes.
Regent Schroeder.
Yes.
Regent Lacey. Regent Calamari.
Yes.
Regent Whites. Regent Wilmot.
Yes.
Regent Claire. Regent Kenny.
Yes.
Regent O'Connor. Regent Schaefer.
Yes.
Regent Shear. Regent Stark.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B5 seeks your approval today of the University of Nebraska's operating budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026. The University of Nebraska's proposed operation budget delivers a fiscally conservative proposal that maintains our affordability and requires us to make significant spending cuts while also making room for strategic investments that will move us forward in our goals for academic excellence. The key elements of the 2025 operating budget include a 0.625% increase in state appropriations, significantly lower than the inflation-based 3.5 request that we were asked to submit and was submitted by the Board of Regents last August. Inflationary pressures being put upon the operating and payroll costs, as well as other state and federally funded challenges, will require all academic and business units to reprioritize their spending to manage inflationary increases and funding reductions. We will need to continue to reduce spending and make increasingly difficult choices to ensure fiscal discipline, as we have done for the past decade, and as I said earlier, having taken over $100 million in budget cuts over the last decade, in addition to countless internal reallocations and internal efficiencies. Affordability and accessibility remain the university's top priority, and this increase, which averages to be a 5% tuition increase over the prior year, will ensure Nebraska's tuition rates remain low when compared to our peers, and many times the very lowest to our peers across the country. This item was extensively reviewed, discussed, and debated and recommended by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you today for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11B5? Is there a second?
Yes.
Discussion.
I'll start, unless you want to
Go ahead.
I'd just like to commend the work of President Gold and our government relations team and Ann Barnes. I was able to see only a glimpse of the work that our president is doing, staying on top of all of our funding challenges when we went to Washington, D.C. And I just wanted to say thank you. If that original 2.07% decrease in funding proposed originally wasn't changed, we'd been considering a much larger tuition increase today. But as you said earlier, I think we do need to address the future of how we go about advocating for these unfunded mandates, which will make up almost $10 million of the budget this next year. When we sent our party to the Appropriations Committee, we sent neutral party and I believe a proponent for the unfunded mandate. And there's outside lobbying as well, most likely with against these unfunded mandates. But in the future, I think we need to commit to a stance and advocate accordingly. I think, tuition remissions serve as a great tool. When it's time to come to the table like we are now, we're passing the buck on to these students caught in the middle who either aren't Nebraska Promise students or getting high ACT scores like we've noted before. So I'd just like to say we as a board need to solidify a strategy moving forward. I think the Exxon case gives us some discretion, and we really need to explore more than what we have because it's not sustainable for the legislature to keep wiping tuition costs at the cost of the university and a majority of our students, frankly. I'm going to vote yes on the increase, as I believe it's a means to alleviate the cuts that will have a far greater impact than if it is not increased, but I really believe we should consider changing our approach.
Jim?
I have a problem, and I understand both sides, but what we have seen, at least in the last couple of years that I've been part of the board, which is not as long as most of you, but we've noticed that the legislature is working very hard to reduce property taxes, and I was there and I understand the need for that. But at least what I've noticed substantially in the last several years, that it's come at the cost of other institutions. And when we're taking funds away from publicly supported educational units, only to provide funding to those that are currently funded by property taxes, and in order to reduce that burden, going back to we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And it's been at the expense of the university system, certainly, this year. And it is what it is, but I'm hoping that the legislature will have the ability to look deeper into their budgeting process to see what happens. When you reduce the funding to the university, we have limited ways of providing additional funding. Those property tax entities that they have been funding are still having the ability to pick up any of their shortfalls via property tax. They don't have a problem with that. And yes, they can reduce their property tax asking, but we can't. The only avenue we have is either to go out and find more students, and I think that pie is probably about as big as it's going to get, so we will have to steal students from other institutions, either in state or out of state, or we increase the tuition. And certainly those people that are paying the tuition are getting the benefits of the education, but it's also part of our land-grant institution that we provide that education. So I'm certainly going to vote for it, but I think as a state, people need to be better addressed on how the funds are being utilized. Because right now, and I understand those that have high property taxes. I mean, all of us would like to have lower ones, but we all want the same services. And you are not going to have the same services available to everyone and every entity if you keep shifting from one to the other without raising some additional funds. And as of yet, that's the quandary, because this year especially, from a legislative standpoint, their funds were diminished. And it was like, oh my God, now what are we going to do? And when I see those additional funds going to those entities that are property tax supported and still have that ability, that's sort of an irritant. You know, if the state is going to take over those responsibilities, then they can certainly have local control, but they then shouldn't have the alternative funding mechanism. They're in a no-lose situation. The only one that's in the lose-lose situation is the university system. And I'm hoping in the future that not only the Appropriations Committee, because they only develop the budget, everybody has to vote for it. So there's 49 senators out there, and I think it behooves each and every one of the regents to make sure that you contact as many of those legislators that you know, and make them abreast. Because sometimes you only know what you know, and there are other options available. So that's my 2 cents worth. It's probably not worth that much, but maybe got a penny of thought. So
Inflation.
Barbara.
Yeah. It seems to me that, well, first of all, I want to say this is a very painful day for me. And seeing the forced changes in programs that we love and appreciate reminds me that we need to keep in mind the return on investment that we provide for the state's well-being economically. And I think if we think about it, this is an investment in our future economic well-being. I think it presents a different sort of emphasis. And I would hope that as we go forward, we're able to do a great job of collaborating with our unicameral around the fact that this is a business, this is a lose business when you can exchange $1 for a 10 in return, and then you cut the resources to do that. And I truly hate seeing this financial burden shift to students. We have so many students that, and I taught at UNO for 15 years, and I saw how they struggle. They have 3 jobs, and every time we have to do something like this, we lose some, and that's very painful to me, because I think it is our mission as a land-grant university to bring education to everybody that wants it. And to be doing this really hurts. And I appreciate so much the hard work that our campuses have done to try and find every dollar and use it well. And I appreciate the board and Sam's comments and Jim. Well, I should call you by your regent name, sorry. But I just want you to know that I, as a regent, am committed to finding a better way to get our message across about what an investment in the future this is for the whole state, and not just educational enterprise. It's about our economic well-being in the future, and we need to be paying attention to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent. Chancellor Lee, I think, was next.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me a chance to speak. I am very touched by the Regents' comment discussion today, and I do believe University of Nebraska is the biggest economic engine in the state of Nebraska. And the success of the state in the future really relies on how successful the students producing professionals for our workforce development. So at UNO, as the urban campus, we received the lowest disproportional distribution of the state, and yet regarding the unfunded mandate, we represent the highest amount. We have to figure out, and I do agree, sometimes is the shifting the cost from one student to the other. Is that fair? It's for the Nebraskan to decide on that. So I really appreciate today's comment, and I'm here to speak for our urban campus. We can no longer to run a university with unsustainable financial future. So thank you very much.
Regents next. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
thank you. I just want to echo Regent Schroeder's comments on the work that the administration did to secure like the compromise with the state government. I think that makes a huge difference to what students are being asked to pay in tuition at this point. But I think that this budget does reflect the continued underinvestment in higher education that we see on a state and federal level, and this problem is unlikely to go away in the future. I will vote yes on this because we have to keep the lights on and we have to pay staff. But it's a sad time when a state that I think is very egalitarian and very like believing that everybody should have the opportunity to do as much as they can with the abilities they are given, that we would basically ask people to pay upfront a large amount of money or take on large amounts of loans, increasingly larger amounts of loans, when some people just can't afford that. And they might be denied an education because of their financial situation and not because of any abilities of their own. So with the fact that I will support this because I feel like we kind of have to for the university system. I do want to say that with the students footing more of the university budget, I think we have to find new ways to include and value student opinions and priorities on all of our campuses. Because as we shift away, and I'm not saying that the state allocation isn't the majority of the funds that we get, at least for this section of our budget, but probably every year for the foreseeable future, students will be a higher percentage, and we have to find new ways to value that input of funds that students are giving.
Regent Claire.
I've got a variety of thoughts in no particular order on this, and so I'm just going to kind of rapid fire. First, this issue has monopolized thousands and thousands of hours by not only Dr. Gold, but the campuses, his staff, all of us, lots and lots of people power to look at this, not only the lobbying efforts, but then also now we're focused on cost cutting and eliminating programs. And so we hired Dr. Gold a year ago with the idea that he was going to be our visionary and going to be our leader and set out a vision with his strategic plan and I forget what you called it, but that thing you called it.
Odyssey to the Extraordinary.
Odyssey to the Extraordinary. I couldn't come up with the words right off the top of my head. But, and so now really what this is saying is, gosh, the vision is not as important as it is we got to find somebody that can cut costs. And that's not what the university is about. We cannot cut our way to prosperity. You cannot do that. What we have to do is we have to look at our entire structure. So I agree with the comments made on the return on investment. State monies fund K-12, they fund the university, and it would seem to me that rather than looking at it as an appropriation, I think it is an investment by the state. And the investment in the state is for educating its citizenry, and we have to keep our eye focused on that. I don't like putting this burden on the backs of students, because that's what it is. It's a tuition increase. It's a tax, if you will. It's a tax on the students. And so what we're doing is we are having to do this, and I hate that idea. I don't like putting monies on the back of students. But we also have a fiduciary duty to do what's in the best interest of the university. And that duty is to educate and prepare students, provide faculty with research opportunities, and grow our institution for the benefit of the entire state. Sam, you talked about change the approach, and I could not agree with you more, because I think the approach that we've been doing ebbs and flows on $8 corn versus $4 corn. And I've said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it again. 100 years ago, the state of Nebraska had a population of 1.25 million people. Today, 100 years later, we are at 1.9 million people. It is a people problem. We don't have enough people in this state, so we have got to figure out a way, and cutting property tax is not the answer. The answer is that we don't have enough people to broaden the tax base. And so, Iowa doesn't have this problem, but they got 1 million more people than we do. So we have to figure out how we're going to grow our state. And the university has to be at that table. And the university's role in the past, we show up every 2 years on I Love NU Day, and we have no other meetings with the legislature, private sector on a summit where we are working together to figure out where are we going to be as a state in 5 years, in 10 years. What are we going to shoot together for? What are we aiming for to become the best possible state and do the best thing we can? And instead, we operate in silos. The university's over here, state government's here, business sector over here. Now, there's interactions, but not a summit where we are all working together beyond just the I Love NU Day, but instead throughout the entire year, and we're figuring out how we're gonna get to where how we're gonna get to the promised land, because continuing to cut is not, again, going to get us to prosperity. So I would propose that yes, I'm going to vote in favor of this, but I would propose also that we take the initiative to contact our legislature, like Jim was saying, and sit down with key leaders within the legislature and key business leaders and figure out what this state's going to look like in 5 years and in 10 years. And then we go get it. Because we've got resolve, we've got tenacity, we can do that. And we're a hard-working state, and we're a hard-working people that love this state. And I would propose that we change the approach to be one of vision rather than cutting. And so I like your idea of changing the approach, maybe a little bit different than what you had envisioned, but nonetheless, I think it is important and imperative for our state. We cannot operate on $8 corn versus $4 corn, because we're going to have some great years, and then we're going to be right back in the same situation. Thank you.
Jack.
A lot of things. I just want to add one point that really affected me. Last time we did this, raising tuition, our student regents spoke up, and every one of them said one thing: we will gladly pay this tuition increase if it helps us to get a better education. And if it's your professor, if it's your mentor, and that $1.5 average $1 million you're going to make the rest of your life, it makes a difference. Nobody wants to raise this, but I was impressed that all of you as student regents brought that up and offered to do that because you want a better education. We are not ranked that high for a lot of different reasons, but we need a better education, and this will help us instead of cutting professors.
Anyone else? Libby?
I'll be brief, because I agree with everything that's been said thus far, but, as a student, I completely agree. I want my education to mean something, and that means funneling money into our institution. And when you have lower state dollars coming, unfortunately, that means tuition increase. And I know nobody around this table wants that to happen, but we certainly need to uphold the value of our education, which I think is what we're going to do today.
Well, I have several comments. Some I'll try to keep to myself. But I didn't support the 3.5% tuition increase last year. Now we're jumping 5%. So add that up, 8.5% now. And it doesn't look like the legislature is going to do much different next year. So what are you going to think about next year? And I do value education. If I didn't value education, I would have never gone to college. I would have never been a teacher. My whole family's filled with teachers, and I also know many people, and I don't think they were really wasteful, who 20 and 25 years later are still paying for student loans. And so this is huge. And it's going to impact a lot of students, and I do believe we're going to have kids now that toss the towel in and go into college. So we are going to impact a lot of lives. And you say you can't cut your way to prosperity, and I'm not just dinging on you individually. That is a cliche. But I'm going to tell you what, if you don't make cuts, you're not going to survive the high waters we're getting into. And I know cuts are painful. I've worked for state government for over 20 years, and I know in the correctional system when they said this is all you get in your bucket and we're cutting and people had to pick up extra things they were doing, all of that is painful. I get that. But I do think, as unpopular as it's going to be, there's some cuts that we need to look for that are not really going to impact the quality of our education that much. And I know for all the whole room of educators, that's not a popular message, but I do think we're going to have to do something along that line, whether it's, I don't know what, less trips, less whatevers. But I just bleed for these students. I was one that didn't come from piles of money and nobody paid for my education. I am one of them that paid for a very long time, and it didn't cost near this much in those days. And it's very hard. I have grandkids, and when you talk to them about going to college and they can see a job that's sitting here right now today, it's hard to sell the fact that this could mean $1 million to you 20 years down the road. They just don't get that. My big concern, and I know you're not the legislature, so I don't need to preach to you, but I do communicate a lot with legislators and have for 30 years. Because there's a lot of things that they approve in legislation that, quite frankly, I call it bleeding heart issues. You know, it sounds good, you want to do it for people, but I think that's where some of our communication as just people in general, the public in general, really needs to communicate and watch what their legislators are doing, because they get pressure from all sides and they want to meet all needs and they want to fill everybody's bucket too. And I think we're just going to have to speak up more and hopefully emphasize the fact that education is critical. But I thank staff, I thank Dr. Gold, because I know you have just worked and worked, and I know try to dream up where we can make another cut is very hard. It takes tremendous amount of hours and efforts and laying awake at night, I'm sure, sometimes to try to figure out what that might be. And so I appreciate much of what's in here, but for position-wise, for making the statement, I will vote no today because I just can't swallow this 5% tuition for students, knowing that 26, 27, we're probably going to be right back here at this table having this same conversation.
You know, I agree that it is very hard to
students, and I have a lot of friends that are going to be paying off their student debt for the rest of their life. I do want to point out that in the last, I think 2 years or 3 years, we have cut $108 million out of our budget, and I think in President Gold, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even this budget is cutting out $20 million. So we have tried very hard to tighten our belts and to find ways that the students are not affected. But at some point, you are going to be cutting quality. And I think we've done a very good job trying to avoid that. And I commend our chancellors. I know that those are very, very hard choices that they're having to make. But I'm proud that we have found, some places to cut in our budget. And I don't want to raise tuition either, but I don't want to give students a subpar education. And I stop cutting out what you can, and you're going to start cutting real quality. So none of us want to be in this position. None of us decided to run for regent to raise tuition on students. I think we're all here because we love higher education, and we're also here because we're willing to make the tough choices for students. So I don't like doing this either, but until the unicameral and the governor figure out a budget, I think this is what we are going to have to keep doing, and we have to live in the state in which we live in. So I'm going to vote yes on this, just like Regent Claire, and I will commit to working with our unicameral and trying to explain how, as Regent White said, the return on investment is. But it's a hard day, and we have to make hard choices. But we have cut out of the budget $108 million, and then this time 20.
Well, not to belabor the point, but one, nothing stays the same. The people that are working, most people have received a raise over the last year. Some haven't. I mean, and exactly what Tim has stated, if you've got $6 corn and you're banking on 6 1/4, you're probably in a deficit as well. But I think Liz's point is very accurate. The university has done substantial cuts, not just since I've been here, because that's only been the 3 years, but over a longer period of time. One only has to go upstairs. I mean, the amount of administrative people that were here probably 5 or 6 years ago versus now is dramatic. And, you talk about the cliches and, it's, you hear, well, you're just going to have to do more with less. Well, the reality is you do less with less. You don't do more with less. And so we will probably be doing less with less. This budget preliminarily has X amount worth of reductions, but there's more to come. And, I went to the university right after Christ was born, so, it's been a while. But even then, tuition went up every year. I can't tell you the percentages, but that's something that I think is understood educationally. I don't know how anything can operate on the exact same funds every year, knowing that you have additional costs that are going to be implied every year. Your labor is going to go up, your benefits are going to go up, your health coverage are going to go up, your utilities have gone up. There is absolutely nothing that I can think of that's gone down, and I'm going to probably get 14 emails of things that have gone down, including crop prices or something else, and that's fine. But the big dollar tickets all have gone up. And they've gone up over 5%. And one of the things I think as well, looking back, when you make a vow to not have a increase in tuition for a year or 2 years, you never get that back. And so you're trying to play catch up. And that's part of the problem we have right now is playing catch up because we voided ourselves for a couple of years trying to do the best we could and try to minimize those costs as much as we could to the end user, which is our students. But it comes back to bite you in the ass. It has. And, you know, we have to be careful about, you know, what we do in relationship to our finances. We've got a really good bond rating right now. We have the ability to borrow money to improve ourselves at a much better rate than a lot of the institutions. And as bad as, you know, God, you know, should be raining and a tornado siren should be going off because we've been talking about doom and gloom. But we're nowhere near. I mean, the bright side is we're nowhere near what a lot of universities are. And I'm not just talking about the little itty bitty ones or the private ones that are, you know, maybe short on dollars coming in philanthropically. Penn State universities. I think there's, what, 19 or 17 of them or whatever it was. They're going to mothball 7 of them next year. They're not reducing, they're not cutting, they're closing. We're not doing that. We're going to try to do the best we can, but we've got to be able to utilize the ability that we have. And getting back to my comments, we don't get to charge other taxes. And yeah, Tim, it's probably a tax on the students. But if we're going to call it a tax, then let's just call it a user fee. Because those people that are paying more money are the ones that are using the facilities, are getting the education. I got mine cheaper than they did, but that was because it was a long, long, long time ago. I'm not sure I got as good a one. You know, what we're doing now is a lot different than what we were doing when I was young. And I'm not sure I even remember that now. So, but, you know, this university's done a great job. President Gold has done a good job. And we just have to keep our eyes on the ball. And there's a lot of different ways. You know, as my kids earlier in life, I live in Norfolk, and I said, you know, there's a lot of different ways you can get to Madison, which is about 15 miles south of us. Now, you can head north on 80, and it's just going to take you a heck of a lot longer to get to Madison going that way and coming back up than if you simply went south. So I don't know what's the best direction. I'm not telling you to put the car in reverse or to take a left or take a right, but we've got to look at every avenue, figure out what we're going to go, and get from A to B, and do it as practically and as beneficially, ultimately, to our students, which brings value to the state. That's simple. Thank you.
Just from like a numbers game, like undergraduate students maybe paying like hundreds of dollars more per semester. And for some programs at UNMC that are even more expensive, it might end up being, you know, $1,000 a semester more. And so I can see the point that like this is going to be a huge financial burden on students. But as a fourth year medical student, I would love to try to convince you that I shouldn't have to pay $1,000 more next semester. But if I did that, when we come back next year, that number might be $2,000 more a semester. And is that fair to the like future student that I got to like kind of take the free ride of not paying more next semester, and then they'll just be hit with the check on the back end? I don't think that's necessarily the way to do it. I would love to say that we can just cut and like not impact education and students don't have to pay hundreds of dollars more a semester. But I think that for the future students, that is an abdication of responsibility.
You know, in a lot of conversations that I've had with people, I've been like telling people that yes, we are representing the people of Nebraska right now, but yes, we are also representing the people of Nebraska for future generations. And unfortunately, this is a decision that has to be made. And it's not something that we can continuously keep kicking down the road because in X amount of years, it's going to have to go up 10 to 15%. And that's not something we can do to those future students. It has to be gradual. And starting with 5%, I think, is very doable for these, students. And granted, my parents aren't paying for my education. I am paying for my education. I've worked very hard, gotten a lot of scholarships, along with a multitude of other students within the NU system. And unfortunately, this is a decision that's going to be put on our backs, but we are all willing to work towards an education. That's why we're here.
Rob?
Well, I'm going to vote no on this. It's just a matter of looking economically. If we look across our state right now, there are so many people out there struggling, especially in the rural parts. And yes, some of that is, a lot of that really is tied directly to agriculture. I'm looking right now, the corn, if you sell your corn right now for this fall, it's $3.96. You sell your soybeans, it's $9.88. When farmers were locking in their input costs in January or sooner this year, and if they would have locked in their pricing for sales, they weren't even covering the cost of production. Now that doesn't include the farmer that has to make a rent payment, a land payment, pay for machinery, and pull money out to feed his and her families. And as you go up and down Main Street, and I have a lot of clients that come in, and I've talked to a lot of other professionals, and there's a lot of people out there hurting right now. And farm bankruptcies are up 55% last year. They expect that to double again this year. The rescission rate on purchase agreements for new homes across the country are up to a point that we haven't seen since 2008. And I just cannot support and will not support 5% increase. I think we need to be able to keep tuition affordable. I'm here because of affordable tuition. I had to join the Guard when I was 17 to help pay for my college. And, I remember during the farm crisis when the bank actually came and sold my parents' farm out from under them at that point in time, and those struggles that come along with that. And I'm a product of what good education can do for somebody. Good education at affordable price and hard work. And I'm living the American dream because of, in part, the education I've received here. But I think it's really important that we keep our eye on that as well. And I do agree, we can't always cut our way to prosperity, but I do think we're probably at a point in higher education where we really need to look in the mirror and face some hard truths and be willing to look at and think about it maybe in another way. And maybe it's not cutting our way, but how do we grow the enterprise? And perhaps more importantly, maybe it's time we look at a serious restructuring of our university and how we do deliver our goods and services and education to our students and the research that we conduct. And I would like to take this as an opportunity that we actually do that over the course of the next year, that we have some serious, hard, tough discussions about what the university is going to look like, not next year, but 5 years from now and 25 years from now, because I think that's really important. Because I think if we don't, we're going to miss the boat, and we're just going to be like any other ordinary university, and, woe is me, we've got higher tuition and less tax money coming in from the legislature. But at some point, we've got to figure it out on our own and make some serious changes. And I'm looking forward to actually having this discussions with every one of folks here at this table. And although it's a crisis and it's a tough situation right now for a lot of people, let's not let a good crisis go to waste and use this as an opportunity to rethink how we should operate going forward as a university.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, chairman's preference, but my last comment would be before we vote is that in our energy business, we subscribe to statistics on where we sit, cost of production, those kind of things. And I have to say, I only looked at the Big Ten, didn't look at Kearney, didn't look at Omaha in their conferences, but we, with 5% increase, would be near or at the bottom of the Big Ten. And so I commend our staff for being there, and I don't know how much you can ask of that when you're there. You're in a good spot, and I'm proud of where we're at, and we'll compete with anybody, and have agreed with about every comment at this table, and we all need to do better, and we have a runway to do it. So at that, I would call roll.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Lysy,
Yes.
Regent Calamari,
Yes.
Regent Wilkins,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot,
No.
Regent Claire,
Yes.
Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
No.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites.
Painfully, yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B6 seeks your approval for the Nebraska College of Technical Agriculture's 2025-2026 operating budget. NCTA's operating budget assumptions are similar to those used for the university. Expenditures, including compensation, are estimated and subject to the availability of state funds appropriated by the Board of Regents, as they are for the remainder of the university. The tuition rates are based on the state of Nebraska's current budget and, of course, are subject to change based on the discretion of this board. This item was reviewed and recommended by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11B6?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Any discussions? Vote please.
Regent Lysy,
Yes.
Regent Calamari,
Yes.
Regent Wilkins,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Claire, Regent Kenny,
Yes.
Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear, Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites,
Yes.
Regent Wilmot.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B7 seeks your approval pursuant to Section 6.4 of the bylaws to approve renewal of the FM Global Property Insurance Policy for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. You will see in the materials that have been pre-distributed a chart containing the annual premiums for fiscal years dating back to 2021, as well as specifics on our insurance limits and deductibles on the proposed renewal. This item was carefully reviewed and recommended by the Business and Finance Committee, and I do recommend it to you today for your approval.
Is there a motion to approve 11B7? Motion been made. Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just make one comment, though. Premiums did go up substantially this year, but look at it, so did the valuations. And when you're insuring homes or businesses or buildings, it's based on what you are spend to replace or rebuild that building. So when I looked at that, I looked at the valuations, and the valuation 6-8%. Premium went up maybe 10 or 11%. Vast majority of that increase due to the value of buildings. That's based on what it would build those buildings. So correlation there jumped. It's realistic. You aren't going to build this building for the same value. That's, people a lot of times, very difficult time realizing that, because you, especially in smaller rural towns, you can buy an older home there for not a lot of money. And then all of a sudden they go to insure it, and the insurance value is probably 2-3 times what they paid for it. That's the difference, is what it costs to replace something versus what you, that's where the valuations come in. And much as I don't like anything going up, a lot of this is just due.
Anyone else?
I believe I did read where Nebraska's insurance rates were, the increase this past year, were one of the highest in the country, and I believe it came in at 22%.
Yet another example of uncontrollable costs.
Anyone else? Roll, please.
Regent Calamari, Regent Wilkins,
Yes.
Regent Schroeder,
Yes.
Regent Lysy,
Yes.
Regent Kenny, Regent O'Connor,
Yes.
Regent Schaefer,
Yes.
Regent Shear,
Yes.
Regent Stark,
Yes.
Regent Whites, Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Claire? Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 11B8 seeks your approval of the interlocal cooperation agreement with the Nebraska State Patrol for supplemental security and law enforcement at UNL events. Under this interlocal cooperation agreement, the Nebraska State Patrol, better known as the NSP, will provide approximately 11 to 25 officers for designated UNL events, which may include but are not limited to football games, volleyball games, and concerts, in addition to the UNL PD officers working at these events. NSP estimates the cost per officer to be an average of $90 per hour, with NSP officers working 3 to 8 hours per event. The interlocal cooperation agreement will be in effect until June 30th, 2027. This item was also reviewed and recommended by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you today for your approval.
There a motion? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
And this is from UNL's budget?
It's for the athletic events, it's from the athletic department's budget.
Okay.
Is that correct? And
Non-tax dollars. Anyone else? Roll, please.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Lacey?
Yes.
Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Claire?
Yes.
Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Motion passes.
thank you. And the last item in the Business and Finance part of our agenda today is 11B9 that seeks your approval for the guaranteed maximum price, the GMP, for the UNMC infrastructure project. Myers Carlisle Leapy Construction Company, better known as MCL, has been selected as the CMR through University of Nebraska sole source purchase as approved by Jen Bartholomew. The GMP contract will be in the standard form and executed only within scope, schedule, and budget previously approved by the Board of Regents. Upon execution, the GMP contracts will be reported through the standard contract reporting process to this board with periodic updates. This item was reviewed and recommended by the Business and Finance Committee, and I recommend it to you for your approval.
So is there a motion to approve 11B9? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll, please.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Lacey?
Yes.
Regent Calamari? Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Claire? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Regent Kinney. I now return the program to you for the remainder of the agenda.
Item 11C1 seeks your approval on certain changes in chapters 1 through 3 of the bylaws of the University of Nebraska Board of Regents. These changes have been reviewed previously by committee and published for information at the April 11th, 2025 meeting of the board. The item was reviewed and recommended by Academic Affairs Committee, and I recommend him for your approval. Is there a motion to approve 11C1?
I make a motion to approve with the exception that Chapter 1.1.6.d be removed.
Is there a second to that motion?
For clarification, would that be the, on the document given out, would that be the second point?
It's 1.6.d, which is the board may delegate, and the wording that came into question was the word may. It seems that it would be in conflict with 1.6, the overstatement there that says the board shall. So it just removes point D.
Thank you.
Is there a second to that motion? Seeing no second, we're still looking for a motion for 11C1.
I'll second it.
Any further discussions on 11C1?
I would like clarification then if the overstatement the board shall, their approval shall be required. Does that overrule then the point that then changes that the board may?
I would defer to the attorneys in the room. Counsel. Brent, you need time, or?
Yeah, I'd like to look at it.
Yeah, how about we take a quick biological break?
Brent, I'll turn it over to you, and you can give us your opinion.
Just the microphone, please.
Sorry. So what I'd say is it's perhaps not the most artful way to phrase it, but I don't think it's inconsistent. So when you talk about rules of statutory interpretation, where you have a more specific provision, in this case 1.6D, where it's permissive, it says may, that would override or overrule the broader provision of shall. So I think you interpret 1.6D just like it says. It's permissive, it says may, and I don't think it's inconsistent.
So then when it's under that broad heading, then they can make that decision, but it needs to come back to the board for approval?
Well, I mean, the provision says the board may delegate as it deems appropriate. It's a board decision, however that gets enacted.
We're not granting that authority today, though. We're just saying
Right.
if we want to do that in the future, we don't have to come back and amend the bylaws to do it. We can just take an affirmative action to grant that authority to the president. So we're retaining it at this point in time. Is that correct?
But that's my read, yes.
Any other questions?
I did have a question on sorry, I forgot. I think it was John Trader. You brought up the formal consultation of faculty governance bodies. I guess this wouldn't be a question for you. It would be a question for kind of consult. But what would this amendment change include that line? Does this change 2.7 of the bylaws?
Change anything. It's as written.
As written, okay. So we could then at a later point consider this?
You can always change policy. Yeah.
Okay.
I want one more clarification too. I'm still on 1.6, board approval required. So that's what we're addressing. So I believe what you're telling me then that would have to come back to the board as an official vote to delegate that authority. Am I correct?
Yes.
Anyone else? Roll, please.
Regent Lacey?
Yes.
Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Clare? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor? Yes. Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Motion passes.
So we're down to item 11C2, seeks for your approval and amend the sections 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3 of the bylaws of the Board of Regents of the University of Nebraska. The proposed amendments makes necessary changes in the university's policy regarding purchasing and/or disposing of property, as well as changes in the process with respect to facilities, entering into contracts, capital planning, and development. Is there a motion to approve 11C2? Second?
Second.
The tie.
Give it
To
her.
Brock. Oh.
I'll take it.
Any discussions?
I believe there's a lot of hard work put into this by folks here at Varner Hall and facilities here in Lincoln and Omaha to review these changes, and I think they're quite appropriate and going to support them.
I also just like to compliment the people who worked really hard. This has been a long time in coming to get this section of our policies aligned with what we really need to do for future programs. And so thank you to Ann Barnes and to Bren and others.
Thank you. Anyone else? Roll, please.
Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder? Yes. Regent Lysy?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Claire? Regent Kenny? Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Regent Kinney, there are also numerous reports for the board review. I would point out that report number 2 is the laboratory student and miscellaneous fees for the upcoming academic year. Item number 6 is the pilot intercession courses that will be offered by UNO, and also the proposal to rename, just as we've discussed earlier, the Master of Science in IT Innovation to the Master of Science in Human-Centered Computing. So that's the mechanism by which such programs are renamed, in addition to others.
Thank you, President Gold. I accept the reports listed in the agenda on behalf of the board. At this time, is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Regent Shear?
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that because we have a little legal jargon that we need to utilize. I would move that the Board of Regents goes into closed session as authorized by Section 84-1410 of the revised statutes of the state of Nebraska for the protection of public interest, to prevent needless injury to the reputation of persons who have not requested a public hearing, for the purpose of holding discussion limited to the following subject, and today's subject will be the discussion of confidential personal matters.
Second.
Roll call, please.
We have to discuss.
Okay. Discussion first.
Closed session.
In closed session. Okay. We'll ask everyone to
We need to adopt the motion to go into closed session.
Okay.
We have a primary motion and a second.
Okay. Adopting the motion to go into closed session. Calamari? Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Lysy?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Claire? Regent Kenny?
yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Motion passes. We're in closed session.
It is now
11:58.
11:58, and we're back in session. Is there a motion to approve 11A3?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
I go to Jack. Any further discussion? Roll, please.
Regent Wilkins?
Yes.
Regent Schroeder?
Yes.
Regent Lysy?
Yes.
Regent Calamari?
Yes.
Regent Whites?
Yes.
Regent Wilmot?
Yes.
Regent Claire? Regent Kenny?
Yes.
Regent O'Connor?
Yes.
Regent Schaefer?
Yes.
Regent Shear?
Yes.
Regent Stark?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Before we say this next line, isn't this the time we sign up for summer graduations?
The paper's going around.
Oh, okay. I missed it. Someone just skipped me.
That was the folder
You were
handed
busy.
to me.
Sorry.
Maybe they were trying to tell you something.
That's on purpose.
There being no business and there's no objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
It's
11:59.